Hi, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. You don't know Jack. I'm Dr. Jack Groppel, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Haley Perlus. And we've been doing this for a few weeks now, and the response has been really positive. And today we're going to take a little bit of an unusual route. Um, Haley and I have been talking a lot, and we've identified that, every now and then, all of us, we run across a quote and we read it and we go, that really hits, and it hits my heart. And we'll even keep it somewhere. We might put it in a file, or we might write it down, and or we might put it in a reminder. But for whatever reason, we love it, and we're going to mine that today. How Kaylee and I got involved with some quotes that we use, and then we'll see how that manifests and what might trigger you to thinking about what motivates you and what fires you up. Haley, what do you think about it? What is it about quotes that get us excited?
What is it about quotes, Jack? I'm reminded, and I use that word on purpose, I'm reminded of a conversation some of us had yesterday. It was an Evolve Leadership, a company and organization that you and I are both
Hmm.
involved with.
Right.
And one of our partners, Bill McAlpine, we were talking about education and knowledge. And he said, sometimes we don't want to learn more. Sometimes we just want to remember something that we already know. And quotes do that for us. It's not about learning something new. It's like an aha moment. It's, oh, I remember that knowledge. I remember that piece. I think quotes are really good for reminding us of how we want to show up, reminding us to look at a certain way, life a certain way. So that's why I think quotes are amazing. And in your memoir that just came out, The Mountains Within, I know you start, is it every chapter or almost every
Every
chapter?
chapter I have a quote, every chapter.
Every chapter with a quote that I'm sure resonates with you and reminds you of something. So why don't we start there?
Okay, that's fair. And I'm going to start with a really, really funny story because the quote that I'm going to share is almost ridiculous. It's one that you wouldn't think that would really resonate. And I'll tell you how it happened. I'm going to give you the context and then I'm going to tell you the quote. Because if I tell you the quote first, then you're going to go, what? Um, so I had just gotten news that I would, or just gotten public. It had just gotten into the public uh, no, domain that Jim Lair and I were going to be inducted into the United States Professional Tennis Association's Hall of Fame. This was in 2022. And I was a professor at Judson University. And as I say, it didn't have to be announced. It was in social media and everything. So I'm in the hallway, and one of my students, who was a football player, big burly linebacker, comes, and that's really important for this, comes up to me and he says, Dr. Groppel, that's so cool that you're going to be in that tennis coaches Hall of Fame with Dr. Lair. That's so cool. And he looked, and then he pauses for a second and he said, you know, as soon as I saw you, I knew an adventure was about to happen. And I went, what? I said, where did that come? I said, did you think of that yourself? He goes, now to picture this big burly linebacker. Nah, that was Winnie the Pooh. And that's how I start the book.
With a Winnie the Pooh
Winnie the
quote.
Pooh
I
quote.
know.
So the introduction to the book starts with, as soon as I saw you, I knew an adventure was going to happen. And it comes from that football player saying that to me on a day that it had been announced that I was receiving this incredible recognition. And that's what a college football player said to me.
Hmm.
And I felt that's a great way to start the book.
And what does it
As soon
mean
as
to
I,
you?
oh, I mean, because I think my life has been an adventure. It was so meaningful, even though it's Winnie the Pooh, it's a cartoon. But you could just see Winnie the Pooh saying that. As soon as I saw you, I knew an adventure was going to happen. Eagle Scout at 13, goes to Guatemala at 17, taught himself to play tennis, plays for a Big Ten school. And I'm not bragging. It's just like everything was an adventure. Climbed an active volcano in Guatemala, confronted by jaguars in Guatemala. I mean, it's just everything was an adventure for me.
Yeah,
Growing up on farms, and fishing and hunting, everything was an adventure, and that was just the perfect little quote to start off my book.
I love it. I
What
love it.
about you? What's a quote that you particularly like?
When I was thinking, because we actually did some homework for this podcast, you and
Good.
we prepared. And it wasn't actually very hard for me to do homework because I have my favorites. And one of the things that I'm proud of myself is I like to walk the walk and talk the talk. And so these are quotes that I use for myself as reminders and that I share with people that I consult with and coach. And do you remember the movie For Love of the Game? It was a Kevin
Mhm.
Costner,
I do.
which means it's a baseball movie because Kevin Costner is in it.
That's
But
right.
there's this scene, and I actually share the scene, and in my mind's eye, I can see the scene. But he's in flow state. He's pitching a perfect game, which means no one's gotten on base yet. And he looks around at the stadium, and there's these Yankees fans, and he's obviously not on the Yankee team. Funny enough, I forget which team he was playing for in the movie.
I don't
But
recall either.
but they're yelling at him, "You can't pitch a tent!" Like they're
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
and the trains going by and just all this ruckus and noise and chaos and turmoil. And then all he does is stares at the catcher's glove and he says, "Clear the mechanism." And then there's this noise, and everything around him goes on mute and everything goes blurry. And then he simplifies things and he just looks at the batter and he goes, "Hello, Mike." And I love the quote, "Clear the mechanism," because it's
Hmm.
simple and it allows me in my chaos, because it's funny, my degree is in performance psychology. I'm very cognitive and sometimes I to myself want to get out of my head because I'm thinking too
We all
much.
do. We all do.
So the quote just reminds me, clear the mechanism and let's just keep things simple.
Oh,
And hello, bike ride. Hello, presentation. Hello, business call. Hello, bicep curl that I'm about to do. Just clear the mechanism. And the movie happens to be one of my favorite movies, the title For Love of the Game. And so clear the mechanism. Where's the love here? So that would how what's the love of the game? Why am I doing this? So I
I
use the
love
title
that.
of the movie and then that quote.
I love that. It reminds me of the kind of funny analogy where how are you going to start your day? Are you going to start your day by saying, "Good morning, God," or are you going to start your day by going, "Good God, it's morning"? I mean, how are you going to frame it? Clear the mechanism. I like that, Haley.
Right.
I
And then we
like that
have
a
to
lot.
and then we have to ask ourselves, what do we have to clear? Like
Yeah,
it's not just clear the mechanism. My
exactly.
follow-up question is, what do I want to clear? So I just love it. It's for me, it's usable and from one of my favorite movies, and I'm a movie and song lyric person. So
Good for you.
yeah. What's
No,
next, Jack?
yeah, for me. So, okay, so that was the Woody the Pooh quote started my book. And then the introduction to my book is all on Kilimanjaro when I'm reflecting about my life and my career. And I made the decision that if I write my memoir, it's got to be the entire story, not just the great things, the cool stuff, but the difficulties, the difficulties with my dad, marriages, plural, everything. It's got to have everything. So now I finish and I invite the reader at the end of the introduction to I say our time on earth is limited. Don't try to age with grace. Age with mischief, audacity, and a good story to tell.
Oh,
And
that's
that's
so
how
you.
I know it is, right? And that's how I end the introduction. So the idea, I want to say that again. Our time on earth is limited. Don't try to age with grace. Age with mischief, audacity, and a good story to tell. And
It's
I
like
think
you
that's
wrote it
key.
yourself. Yeah.
But then I shift, and one page later, how I start chapter one is to open up the reader's eyes and to ask them to keep an open heart with me. And this quote's from Mary Oliver, and it says, "Keep some room in your heart for the unimaginable."
Keep some room in your heart for the unimaginable. Hmm.
Where I'm asking, so I finished the introduction about mischief, audacity, and a good story. But now, as we start the story and you reflecting as the reader, keep some room in your heart for the unimaginable.
Hmm.
And that's how I wanted to start the book with chapter one.
So what does that mean to you? Is it just keep an open mind? You don't know what you don't know, just have room for what you may not even know is coming, the
Oh,
unimaginable?
it sort of reminds me of another phrase that I've always used with people that you're only limited by your own imagination.
Right.
So if you keep some room in your heart for the unimaginable, you're not letting anything limit you in your thinking. I've always believed that within your God-given talent and you and the skills you develop, you can do anything you want. Now, let's be clear. Shaquille O'Neal, who's 7'2" and 300 pounds, couldn't be a jockey in the Kentucky Derby. And you've heard me use that before.
I have. That's why I paused and
I
let you
know that's why you
finish.
started laughing before I finished it, because I want people to understand that's just not motivational speak. It's within your genetic capacity and then the skills you develop. Yeah, you can do anything. You can sell, you can speak. I don't know, you maybe be a great builder. You can maybe be unbelievable at something, but you're not limited by your imagination. So that's why I like that Mary Oliver quote so much.
Mm,
But
love
that's
that.
how I end the introduction about audacity and mischief and a good story to tell. And then how you're going to develop the good story to tell is by leaving some room in your heart for the unimaginable.
Mm.
So if you'd have said to me in my 20s that I'd climb Kilimanjaro, really, that wouldn't be within my imagination. I would have been limited. Got later in life, had a young son. Why not?
Exclamation point. Why not? And the tone, the way you in which you just said that. Because I was going to follow up and say, listen, if you could go back to your 20s, would you have known that anything that you had accomplished was going to happen in your 20s?
Oh no, nothing. That's why I
Right.
was a maverick. I was crazy.
Right.
I mean, I was had blinders on. This is why the marriages probably shouldn't have happened. Because I had blinders on. I was just hell bent to be recognized by my dad, to, and that's what the book is really about, is a young man trying to find the love of his father, but yet doing all these unimaginable things, and it's not something to brag about. But I mean, yeah, I did a lot. But if you would have said to me, yeah, you'll have a PhD when you're 26, I would have started laughing. But you see, at age 9, I'm going to be an Eagle Scout at 13. See, this is crazy stuff. I wouldn't counsel anyone to go through scouting that fast because you're missing the experiences. By getting my doctorate so early, did I miss a lot of experiences? Of course I did. Of course I did, but I was bent on achieve, you know,
And now
get
you're
tenured at
the
34. I was tenured at 34 at a Big Ten university. Just go. Boom, blinders on. Yeah, I made some mistakes.
Yeah, but fast forward to the mischief and the storytelling and the audacity and the
There's a lot.
unimaginable happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of mischief, audacity, and a good lot of stories to tell.
I love that. No, I love that. I love that. And you see, I was almost the exact opposite. I believe because I had a very different upbringing than you.
Right.
We
Yeah,
actually
you
talked
did.
about that, I think, in our second episodes when we talk about pressure. I was taught to dream. I was told to dream. And I don't think I was told that you can be anything you want, because I do believe my parents understood the reality that, talent and skill, but I was taught to dream and make things happen. And I chose my career at 12 years old. And I remember my older brother saying to me, "You always knew you were going to be in Colorado." Like he
Unbelievable.
like I did have this vision. And so taking my next quote from my all-time favorite movie, I'm a movie girl, I'm a song girl. That's where I'm bringing
Oh,
my quotes
oh, I
from.
love it.
My all-time favorite movie, Jack, do you remember the movie Flashdance?
I do, and loved it.
So that is my all-time as a
One of the
child.
greatest songs of all time, too.
And so one of my two theme songs is What a Feeling.
Yeah.
But the lyrics, take your passion, make it happen, dance through life. So number one, most people, when we talk about my background, we always think about ski racing, but I actually grew up as a dancer as well.
I know that. Yeah, I know that. That's good.
And so just like the main character in Flashdance would dance in like, her hotel hallways and apartments and by herself, that was me dancing as innocently and as free and dreaming. And what I like about take your passion, make it happen, dance through life, it's not just about law of attraction. I can't just like look and hope. it's take your passion and then go and make it happen. So I'm a big
Mhm.
believer in taking responsibility, going out there and asking for the opportunity. So I always thought it's the combo. Have the dream and then figure out how you're going to do your best to make that dream come true. And then don't forget to have fun along the way. Dance through life.
See, that's the mischief and the audacity that I talked about earlier. See, I
Oh,
love
there we go. We're the same.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it is some mischief and audacity and
100% it is.
yeah.
I mean, you were a ski racer. Are you kidding me? If
Um,
anybody's ever stood at the top of a black diamond, double black diamond, and looked down, yeah, you're nuts. I mean, are you kidding me?
it was fun, and maybe I was dancing my way down those slalom courses too. But yeah, so that's another reminder for me. Aha, for me is, any every day. I actually use it in my presentations too, because when we talk about listening to music, it's not just listening to music. Listen to music that moves you. And so I'll play, guess that tune. And I'll, maybe embarrass myself a little bit with sharing how this is the quote that I want to live my life. Take your passion, make it happen, dance through life.
And it applies to everything. I'll never forget when my son was competing for the national championship in karate, and somebody came up to me on the day that he's fighting, and I'm nervous as anything for my son because he's a brown belt and he's fighting black belts, and I'm really concerned for him. And they're coming up, and they literally this person said, "Jack, you worked in psychology. Just pretend it's a tennis match and just talk to him about it." I said, "Yeah, but if you lose a tennis match, you're usually not bleeding when you're done." I mean, this is a
Right.
little different, dude. But it is a similar approach
Yeah.
to what we need to do.
Yeah.
The audacity, the mischief, you take your passion. I think there's a lot to that. And this is a great segue because when you get into chapter 2 in my book,
Okay.
love this. The author's unknown on this one, by the way. I tried like crazy. I even had a marketing team try to find the author of this. Here it is. If it scares you and excites you at the same time, it probably means you should do it.
Ooh. Ooh. I'm sure everybody listening and watching can relate to that right now.
I hope they are because this is when I was a teenager. I was 12 years old and I was going into my teen years. And the title of the chapter is Tennis, Guatemala, Volcanoes, and Jaguars. And that was the chapter 2 is my teen years when I was a foreign exchange student in Guatemala when I was teaching myself to play tennis. And that's how I start the chapter. If it scares you and excites you at the same time, it probably means that you should do it.
I'm trying
How
to
does
think
that
of.
relate to you as a skier and then as a psychologist and how you might counsel someone on that whole death? Like Dr. Perlus, I'm scared and I'm excited at the same time.
I actually feel so two things come to mind. One is not actually in my sport, it's actually in my career. I wanted to become an adjunct professor. I wanted to be an adjunct lecturer.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, I felt compelled because this is kind of what I've done my entire life is I don't go where the competition is. I kind of go where the competition isn't. And what do I mean by that is I was not looking at schools that already had sports psychology. I was looking at schools that did not. And then I wanted to ask them if they would invite me, like if they would be open to giving me a shot. So creating an opportunity. And I remember I was going to University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, and there was the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs, in Boulder, and in Denver. Neither of those three universities had sports psychology. And I remember like the negative self-talk was, well, there might be a reason why they don't have sports psychology. So why are you going to make this phone call? Because if you call a school that already has it, obviously they're already interested in it.
Right, right, right.
But I was calling, and so I was just scared. And then I'm not cold calling is my most one of my most feared things to do in my career. But I was so excited to teach, and I was so excited to introduce, and I was so excited to them saying yes.
Yeah.
And so I mustered up the courage, or muscle. What's the saying? talking about quotes and I can't remember that
Courage. You
saying.
mustered it up. You
Mustered
mustered
it
it up.
up, mustered up the courage to pick up the phone. And I just remember that it was almost like a push. It was like a tug of war. Scared, excited, scared, excited, scared, excited. And then I did it. And two of the three said yes.
See, what I find fascinating now about both of our careers, even I'm much older than you, but both of our careers, we haven't followed conventional or traditional paths.
No.
Um, and then this is another quote in my book, and this is attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson. So this is attributed. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment.
Oh, wow. You're really good at this, like rolling into the next quote so seamlessly. Oh,
Segue.
wow. Oh, wow.
So let me do it again. This is from Emerson. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment.
Yeah.
See, for
Because
both of us, there was never a widget we were going to fit into. Like I did become a college professor, but it was in a field that didn't really exist. And sports science was really new. Nobody was studying tennis. And and I was trying to raise money. I was trying to get funding because it was expensive, to do high-speed cinematography. I mean, there was no template to fit into. And you came along in sports psychology, and yeah, you had Dr. Lair as a role model and as a template, but you still had to sort of create your own career. It's
yeah.
not like you're being hired by someone to do this job.
No, no. In fact, never have I looked at a job and applied for it.
I understand. See, this is
Yeah.
important. That's
Right.
again, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment.
And then what about personal lives too? Because you and I have not lived the traditional personal life. Not everyone goes and adopts a child from China at your age.
For sure. Well, I think that goes back to the one before. If it excites you and scares you at the same time, you probably should do it. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, to be very honest.
Yeah.
And
It's
then, I mean, I
okay.
could give, what's that?
I was saying, and I think we need to be comfortable if we don't fit the mold. It's okay.
Yeah. And then, I'll give you one more and then we can sort of just throw these all around and everything. But this is from T.S. Eliot. Only those who risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go.
Say it one more time. I need to hear it one more time. I just heard the word
Eliot, T.S.
risk.
Eliot. Only those who risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go.
I think we all need to hear that right now because
That's, yeah,
I
go
do
ahead.
think I was going to say I do think a lot of us, myself included, sometimes I put up barriers where they just don't need to be there. And then I don't actually realize my true potential because I haven't gone far enough to realize, right?
Bingo.
Yeah.
We get comfortable. Human beings, we get comfortable. And, one of the things that we have always done at HPI and what they're doing at Evolve that I'm so jazzed about is the idea of getting out of your comfort zone, the idea of growth throughout your whole life, you know, being a learner, no matter where you are, what stage you are, get
Yeah.
outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
learn something new. When people retire, I've often said, and you've heard me do this before, there are two words that don't exist in the original Hebrew: retirement and vacation. Why? There was no need for retirement in ancient times because the elders did other jobs within the tribe. There was no need for a vacation because of the cycles of life and agriculture and how things were made and so on and so forth. So those two words don't exist in the original Hebrew language. So the idea that somebody says they're retiring in Western culture, my first question is, what are you going to do?
My dad would say the same thing. He's still not retired and he's
Good.
loving it. Yes.
What are you going to do? It's not about shutting down because if you shut down, you'll die. We're not designed to shut down. We're designed maybe to do something else.
In addition to that, I would invite everyone to think about the last time. and everyone can, think of a moment for themselves because we've all had them. The last time they did get pushed or push themselves out of their comfort zone, and how cool of an experience it was
Mm,
physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And I didn't, this is not for me, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing it. My husband 2 weeks ago joined. He's a mountain biker and he's now volunteering and coaching young kids. But one of the fellow
oh, that's cool.
coaches is so cool and he's loving it because he's so great with children and loves the sport. But one of the fellow coaches has a an adult, like an evening bike group every Wednesday, and
Mhm.
he invited him. And Eric's pretty confident and he's quite accomplished on his mountain bike, certainly healthy for his age too. And so he agreed and he felt like let's just go and do it. And he came home. He's like, oh my God, just when you think you're fast, just when you think you're good. He's like, and he was talking about these, like, this person who's 10 years his senior went off this jump and how he was the last one in the group. And guess where? He's going tonight to do it again because
Aw,
he loved the energy that
isn't that great?
he loves that chase, that excitement. Oh wow, I can get even better. Oh wow, there are people out there that inspire me that are better.
That's
It's
so
just
good.
so I love that
Love
quote.
that.
I love that quote. And I think it's also what we're talking about, which may bring me to my next. Let's see if I can be as good of a segueist as you, Jack. But let's take responsibility for our lives and our growth and our adventures and our storytelling and our experiences. Let's take responsibility for ourselves. And another sport movie, which is, do you remember this one? The Replacements. So
Oh, so well.
it's
Gene Hackman, right? And
Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves.
oh yeah, I remember that so well.
So Gene Hackman says to Keanu Reeves' character, who's a quarterback, winners want the ball when the game is on the line.
I remember that.
And I know for myself, I have these conversations with myself and with everyone that I work with. We want to succeed, but at the same time, we're hesitant to ask for responsibility for want that accountability.
hmm
And so again, it's like this push and pull, and maybe it goes back to the scared and the excitement at the same time. But at the end of the day, let's take responsibility. Let's hold ourselves accountable. And winners want the ball when the game is on the line. And it's not to cherry pick the ball, right? It's to basically do whatever is being asked of you in the moment. Step up and go for it.
So let's have some fun with that quote because I think it's easier for us to be on the sideline and watch things happen around us than jump in the game and be in the game.
Right.
I think it's easier. It's more comfortable. Again, this comes back to getting out of your comfort zone.
Hmm.
We're not intended to be on the sideline just cheering. We're intended to be in the game. So how are we? How should we all get in the game? How do we get in the game? That's the question.
It's a good one. I'm silent because I'm thinking.
That's okay. I mean,
But maybe I want to be feeling too and not always
yeah,
thinking.
processing is important. I think it's the idea that a lot of people could be listening to this and going, "Gosh, I wish I had that kind of motivation." You do.
Yeah.
You do have it. It's just a matter of, when the people that are watching this on YouTube, they'll see the picture of Shen and I at the top of Kilimanjaro. Everybody knows this story that's listened to us before. On day two, the clouds cleared and we saw the mountain for the first time. And I went, "There's no way." My knees hurt. I'm out of breath. We're only at about 12,500 feet. I'm going, it's too far away. My brain went everywhere but getting to the top of that mountain. And I had to say, "Stop it. Stop it. You don't need to be limited by this." And I said, and then I pulled Shen over to me and I said, I know that looks far away, doesn't it? And he goes, "Yeah." And he's only 12. And I said, "Look, let's not think about getting to the top. Let's just think about taking the next step all the time. Just take the next step. Because I guarantee to you, if we keep taking the next step, we're going to give ourselves the best chance of making it there." And he
Mm,
goes, "Good, let's go, Dad."
love that. And you're not alone. Like you were in the struggle together.
Yes, exactly. we do life together, but it's easier to be comfortable and not take that next step.
But together you can, get out of that comfort zone and take that next step.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
I love that. I want to I want to add one more if I may. I
Yeah, and
just
then I've got one to close us with.
That's
You go ahead.
perfect. That's perfect. Okay, this is a song from Zach Brown Band. Do you know that band?
Ooh, I do know the band.
Okay, what do you think about this lyric? Keep your heart above your head and your eyes wide open. Keep your strength for things that you can change. Forget the things you can't. You gotta let it go. Keep your
That's
heart above your head and your eyes wide open.
so if I paraphrase that, dream and dream big, but control the controllables. Control what you're in control of, but dream big.
Yeah.
That's how I would interpret that. Do
Yeah.
you agree with that?
I do. I mean, it's a whole chorus, and I would invite everyone to go listen to that song because it's beautiful. There's so many messages. You're not alone. You're not the only ship out on the ocean. It talks about all that, but at the end of the day, keep your strength for the things that you can change. Forget the things you can't. Let it go and dream. It's like a combination of everything. But I resonate mostly with your heart above your head
Mm,
because it's sometimes we're just too. You shared this in our last episode when we talked when we talked about, bringing real stories to life. But
right.
you talked about how you got to listen to your heart. It's not
Correct.
always about thinking things through. It's, listen to what your heart says. And so I like the visual, and you always use those word pictures, which I love, you know, keeping my heart above my head, and going with my feeling and my dreams and my passion and my purpose. And then, like you said, controlling the things you can and letting go of the things you can't.
Letting go of the things you can't control. I love that. You know I love that.
And I know you talk about it all the time,
Because
controlling
there's
the
things, so
controllables.
many things happen in life, and we as human beings, we try to control things we have no control over, or we worry about things we have no control over. We worry is a big word to me. I mean, I just think it's a paralyzing word. And we often, I mean, I used to do this all the time with groups when I was speaking, doing a lot of professional speaking and training. How many of you ever worried about anything? And everybody raises their hand. And I'm going, of everything that you worried about, think about one thing right now. Did the worst happen that you were worried about? Everybody starts laughing because no, it almost never happens the way we manifest it in our brain. And that's why keep your heart above your head. Keep your heart above your head.
Yeah. Yeah. The thought that I just had is that sometimes I think worst case scenarios do happen, but the impact is not nearly as severe as you thought it would be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's almost never what we manifest.
Hmm.
See, this is where your brain is not your best friend. I've
So
always,
get your heart above your head.
yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So, well, this has been really good. I hope everybody has enjoyed this, but the idea of taking that next step, whatever it is, use whatever quotes that you find, let the quotes build you into being able to take that next step, whatever that next step is. If you want to take a course, if you want to learn a new skill, if you're changing careers, if you're trying to help someone else, if you're trying to be a good friend and support, just take the step. Take the step. And I want to close with this quote because I believe that this person, for me, is literally the manifestation of humility and honor and success. And it's from Helen Keller,
Mm.
deaf and blind.
Mhm.
And she said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all.
You just circled back with adventure because the first one from Winnie the Pooh,
Exactly right. I did, didn't I?
you sure did. Say it one more time so we can all hear it and as we say goodbye.
Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. And I think it's really important to understand that Helen Keller said that. So make your life a daring adventure. Now, it doesn't have to be climbing active volcanoes and seeking jaguars in a foreign country, but take that next step and enjoy. Savor the moment, love the battle. Everything you do. Savor everything you do. Take that next step.
Adventure away.
Yeah. So I hope this has been helpful for everybody. Make sure you take a look at Haley's book, Personal Podium, and my memoir, Mountains Within. And make sure you take a look at Evolve Leadership. That's the company that we both support and the training programs that they offer. And we look forward to seeing you again on our next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.